Hi, I'm Jesse and I'm here to talk about one thing you may not need in your pocket and one thing you definitely do. Now when I say pocket, I'm talking about these things that you carry with you, things that are going to help you along your filmmaking journey, whether it's in meetings, whether it's on set. But in this particular case, I'm talking about the need for answers, the need to know the answers when people ask you questions. This takes me back to my 30 days of debut feature tips when I went on Twitter and wrote 30 little tips. The fourth one is all about answers. It's okay to say I don't know when asked a question, but if you love your story, you'll know it well and won't have to. Now, a little disclaimer, I wrote these tips a couple of years ago, and if I were to sit down and write them again, I'd probably shift this one a little bit, I'd adjust it. I don't think it's quite accurate to say that if you love your story, you won't need to say I don't know. Because the reality is, there are going to be things you don't know. Let's just leave it at that. It's okay to say I don't know when asked a question. I would have left the tweet right there. Maybe I was a little confident coming off making the movie and I didn't remember that there were definitely a few times that I would have said I don't know. Because I love the story, I love the movie, I knew it really well, I knew it inside and out, but every day 50 questions come at you and you sort of have to dodge some of them, answer some of them, often right on the spot, and it definitely keeps you on your toes. But let me talk a little bit about how to prepare yourself for those questions when they come at you. Going into making a feature, you definitely should be familiar with the story and you definitely will have a big handle on how you're going to handle everything. But one way to help with that is to take lots of notes. We have mini scripts, and I'm actually going to do an episode all about these little cute mini scripts down the track. But some people like to have big scrapbooks that they just paste visual references into and paste the script pages into and just take lots of notes. I've used an iPad on set sometimes, but I really like the tangibility of just a pen and paper and a notepad. And I like to write little notes into the script, and then on the day, if we're working on that particular scene, I can turn to that scene in the script, and in all the craziness of making the scene on the day, you are going to forget things. You may remember what the original intention was overall, but you may not remember some of the great ideas that sparked in meetings or when you're in the shower or going to bed. A lot of my ideas happen at the most random times, and if you write them down, you'll be able to recall them when you need them most. And I know through experience that on set, you are going to miss those things coming back to you. You can't rely on your headspace to remind you of things, so having something physical to look at is really handy. Maybe it's a little character beat or a character moment, a little line of dialogue. It may just be a little thematic element that you realize should be in the scene, and you may have thought of that a month before the shoot, but come the day of the shoot, you're not going to remember. So you'll be prepared. You'll have all these little notes about the scene, basically pieces of ammo to use to make that scene better. And the reason I said it's okay to say no, let's say you haven't had any prior thought about a question that comes at you, then it becomes a discussion. So when someone says, what do you think about this? Should we have this prop or this prop? Or what would my character do in this circumstance? If you don't know, then it becomes an interesting conversation. And the more you've prepared and the more you've thought about the overall scene and some of these other elements in the scene, those little answers to those questions become very easy to figure out just through a conversation. The other thing that I'm going to talk about is business cards. Now, these are great to have in your pocket. I ordered probably 50 of these a couple of years back and I haven't run out yet. I actually ordered a second stash just because I knew I'd want more and I thought I'd be using more. The reality is I don't really use a lot of these. I don't give them out like candy. It's just occasionally when I'm at sort of a party or a meeting or some kind of get together or an industry event, which isn't that often by the way, but when they come around, I feel a lot better having these in my pocket. I keep about 10 in my pocket at any one time, and every few months when I'm starting to run low, I stash it back up again. I keep some in my backpack and some in my travel luggage. I just know that I've got them handy when I need them. It's not like you need them all the time, but I've been in situations where I've had an interaction with somebody that I'm just meeting for the first time, and my perception of them is that they're further along than me in the game, or that they're somebody that I need something from them more than they need something from me. But they haven't had a business card on them, and that's interesting. It makes me feel like, oh, I'm really surprised when people don't have them. As a filmmaker, it's all about those little opportunities to meet someone and be genuine about it. Don't go into any interaction hoping to get something out of anybody, because that's just not a way to do business. That's not a way to form relationships. But relationships start at that moment you say hello, and if you can follow that up with a business card, some way for them to get in contact with you, instead of just adding them on Facebook or asking for their email or writing something down on a napkin, give them a business card, because it's not just a great way to look professional, it's a great way to be professional and be prepared. Now, it may seem like another expense. A lot of independent filmmakers are operating under a pretty tight budget, but there are actually a lot of options out there for getting really cheap business cards. Sometimes you can get like a stack of 100 for 20 bucks, and that's really cheap, considering it's something you're going to use for the next couple of years. Again, you're not giving them out all the time, so they're going to last a long time. I got mine from a website called moo.co.uk. The reason I like Moo is I've sadly got expensive taste. I really like these ones because they've got really nice rounded edges, and they allowed me to put pictures on the back. This is one of my nephew. I was able to direct a Disney commercial with my nephew in it, and I love this picture because it's got a clapperboard, it's got my name on it, it's got my friend Sam's name on it as the DP. So I'm really happy to have that on the card, but I also tapped into a feature of theirs that allows you to put lots of different photos on the cards. And I pick and choose the pictures that I want to give out depending on the person I'm talking to. I chose a bunch of stills from Arrowhead because I've found that sometimes it just sparks a bit of conversation about what that project is. In retrospect, I wouldn't have chosen one with my face on it. It's like putting a photo of yourself on a resume. It's not really something people are advised to do. I don't know what I was thinking at the time, so I kind of keep those ones tucked at the back of the pile, and I'll give them out maybe if I run out of the rest. So go get yourself a bunch of business cards because, like I said, it's not going to be something you use all the time, but when you need it, you'll be really glad you have them. It's getting really dark in here, so I better go. It's a stormy Melbourne night. Clouds are getting really grey, and I feel like it's time to wrap this up. So until next time, make sure you're prepared, write down some of those notes into your script or into a notepad, just have them on hand so that when you're having those conversations on set, you'll have as many answers to the questions as possible. And if you don't have answers to those questions, you'll be more prepared to have a conversation. Thanks guys, have a good week and get yourself some cards.